folks. It's going to be awesome. Hey, everybody. This is Aggro, and you are at the Splinterlands AMA. It's a pleasure to have everybody here. I'm joined today by a couple familiar faces. We haven't seen one of them. Matt, where Yabapmatt is one of the co-founders around here. Matt, do you want to say a quick hello to the audience?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's kind of taken like a 1 month break, I guess. Every month I'll come on the AMAs because it's just been a lot to do it once a week. But yeah, happy to be here today and kind of share everything we're working on.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. With me, as usual, is one Mr. Nate. Nate is our creative director. Do you want to say creative director things to introduce yourself?
Sure. Happy to be here. Nice to be with the community once more. Have lots of look forward to just all the fun talk we normally have. And the creative team, I stand on their shoulders. So, whatever I've shown in the past and continue to share, and that's all because of those guys. So talented bunch of guys.
All right. And then we get to bring to you the one, the only Rick WeirdBeard. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
This makes me feel like I'm about to be in a wrestling match. Hey there, brother. We're going to be talking about tournaments and all the competition we can get.
Yeah, that's what I was channeling. I'm glad you picked it up. That was perfect. All right. Do you want to do just a quick intro, WeirdBeard?
Yeah, so I am the head of esports and tournament marketing. We had a really cool tournament over the weekend, and so anything that has to do with head-to-head competition of people, I feel like I like to have an opinion about.
Yeah, I was definitely picking up the Macho Man Randy Savage. Did you ever see his little skit where he's like, "I'm the cream of the crop," and he's like literally pulling out the little like dishes of cream you put into coffee?
The next time that we have a massive, huge tournament that I have to be in person at, I feel like the community should be able to pick whether I go the Randy Macho Man Savage or the Hulk Hogan mustache, one of the two.
Yeah, yeah, or why not half and half? Just you could show either side.
I feel like I could do that.
Excellent. All right, Matt, why don't you kick us off? Do you want to go? We've missed you for a month. Why don't you You're alive. You're well. Do you want to just kind of give us the state of Splinterlands from your perspective?
Yeah. Hey, I'm definitely alive and well. Just not being on the weekly AMAs every week should not give anyone cause to concern. I mean, really, it's just so I can focus on getting more done and doing more work, which I think is good for everybody. But yeah, I mean, the state of Splinterlands, I actually, between Aggroed and I think anyone who knows us knows that I'm the very like conservative one and the one like, everything could go away tomorrow type guy, and Aggroed's the super bullish one on everything. But I've never been more bullish, on the future of everything Splinterlands related as I've been now. I know currently we're sort of in a bit of a lull with things, but that kind of coincides with our normal market cycles. We have a big release of Chaos Legion, and then things kind of, chill out for a while up until the next big thing. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we just have like so many things coming all together because we have so many more people to work on them. That if you just kind of are a little patient and wait for some of those things to start dropping, which I see more like kind of summertime, fall time is when everything really comes together. But I've never been more excited for everything between Rift Watchers, which we've announced we're going to sell for SPS only. I just think that will be huge considering, the size of that edition and the fact that all of that value will be going to the SPS Foundation. So it's basically off the market. Obviously the airdrop will be ending at the end of July. The private sale investors, their distributions end at the end of April. And then we have, we've kind of teased, we have a bunch of ranked reward changes that are in development right now, which are basically 100% focused on providing more rewards to players who actually have cards and assets in the game. And then we have Modern and Wild format, which is looking like we're looking at April for releasing that. Cryptomancer is getting pretty close to complete on development there. So I don't know. There's just this huge list of things. I mean, I can talk in more detail about some of them later on in the call today. Leak some alpha, I guess, as the term goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
People
So
want to know.
from the very conservative one of the two, I've never been more excited for the stuff that we're doing. And I'll say one of the cool things is, in the past I've been sort of running around like crazy dealing with kind of everything involved in the company. And now that we have, so many more people working on everything from just like, making payments to people, handling customer support, doing development work, dealing with production issues, HR, you name it. Like I've really been able to focus on, the game economy and the feature set like pretty laser focused on that. Most of my job recently has been just like writing down the specs for all the things that we're doing for the other developers and for the creative team and everything. So I feel like for the first time I'm like very clear on like what kind of the main problems are in the game and like the how we solve them in the best and most sustainable way. And it's all been a learning experience. So it's been almost 4 years now of us just like figuring this out as we go. We had never made a blockchain game before, or really much of any blockchain projects when we started this, and so it's been a learning experience. We've definitely got a whole bunch of things wrong, over those years. But I feel like finally I'm just very clear on like, wow, this is exactly how we make this thing. So it works really well. It incentivizes all the things that we want, which is really, people to get SPS and cards and all the other assets. And now it's just a matter of kind of like putting that all down, figuring it all out, working through the little issues and things we didn't think about, and then getting it implemented. So that's all part of like what's coming, I'd say, over the next like 6 months, is sort of like a big revamp of not only rewards, but just like how the game economy works to better handle situations like, bots or automated accounts, and really just incentivize heavily Splinterlands asset ownership and playing by getting to higher leagues and higher levels and making that all. It's like the goal is that it's always better to get more assets in a single account and get that account to higher ranks than it is to have thousands of accounts with little to no assets in bronze or silver. So that's kind of really the crux of what we're trying to figure out. And I think other platforms like Axie kind of take a cop out way of doing that, which is just, ban people and ban NFTs that don't do what they say you should do. But that really goes against everything we're doing here as being a like open system where there's no company like banning people or blocking people. So I think, it takes more work and effort to like get that working properly. And it's not something that's really been done that much before, but
Or really ever.
yeah, definitely not in the gaming space at least. So I feel like for the first time ever since we launched that, like I'm very clear on how we do this now, and now it's just a matter of executing. So that was really long. Sorry if it was too long, but
No,
that's my last month of talking.
What's
there.
I guess what's the closest one to coming into the range for players, and then kind of walk us through what benefits you think it'll have for them.
Yeah, so I mean, Modern and Wild, there's the first version of the rank reward changes, which I can talk about a bunch, now, even though we haven't officially announced it. But that and Modern and Wild are like the two things we're hoping that will be around April. Obviously, I can't commit to that because everything we're doing is new, right? So it's not like we've done this 10 times before, so we know exactly how long it takes. It's like this is what we think, and then as we do it and see what things come up that we didn't expect, we'll adjust. But I think April.
One second on that. I always think of us as more of like R&D than manufacturing, right? Like manufacturing, you tell somebody I need 15,000 screws by March, and you're like, okay, well, the factory produces this many, we can get that out. But this is like R&D. We're doing like original research on game design, game theory, and all these applications. So I just want to support you in that and say, what we're doing is forecasting really hard things to know exactly. And I totally think Matt's right. And this stuff it's tricky to guess, and there's not like a formula that can just spit out when it will happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's why generally time estimates in software development are so difficult, because you're typically not building something that's already been built a bunch of times before. Otherwise, there's kind of no point. So yeah, so Modern and Wild, I think everyone should be pretty clear on. Different format for ranked battles. Modern format will only allow the most recent additions from Untamed and on. I think that'll just be really helpful for our newer players and players who don't have a lot of older cards to be much more competitive. You're not going to be up against people with all the alpha cards, and just having to deal with that. So just make it more economical to be competitive, while similarly, we're planning on doubling the reward pool like we've mentioned. So the players who have the old cards, they can play in Wild, and they can potentially earn more from that, and players who don't can have a more equal playing field in Modern. So I think that's just a necessary thing to do that most games do, and I think it's going to be overall helpful for the economy, and just, I guess, the equality for newer players and players who don't have tons to throw into this. The ranked reward changes are more involved, but ultimately, like, obviously we've had an issue with multi accounts or bot accounts for a while, where a number of people have been incentivized to create large number of accounts and not put any assets in them and play in the lower leagues, and basically farm rewards. And again, as I talked about earlier, the solution isn't for us to say, you broke our rules, you're banned, right? The solution is to build the economy in a way where they're not incentivized to do that anymore. And sort of what we've done to date is just reduce the rewards in the lower leagues, which is a quick band-aid fix, but isn't really a good fix for the game overall, because it also just hurts all the legitimate players who are in those leagues, which is not what we want to do. So the ranked reward changes are focused on encouraging card ownership. So one of the main things that I identified as like a core cause of this problem is the starter cards. So bot owners or players or whoever can come in and buy the Summoner Spellbook for $10, and then they get these cards that they can use and earn rewards with forever without having to actually spend any money in the card markets or rental markets or anything like that. So it's nice for Splinterlands, the company. We get $10 for each account they sign up, and some of them have done tens of thousands of accounts. But ultimately, that's bad for the ecosystem. That money shouldn't be going to the Splinterlands company. That money should be going into the ecosystem. So we're planning on updating it so that you can still use the starter cards and you can still play, but you're going to earn fewer rewards for each starter card you use. So basically, if you use all starter cards in a battle, you'll earn no rewards, and then obviously if you don't use any starter cards in the battle, you'll earn more rewards. So this way it incentivizes, you can still make 10,000 accounts if you want, but if you want to use them to earn rewards, you're going to have to get cards, and you can do that through the rental market or the buying market, either way. And I think we're looking at how we can take some portion of the spellbook cost and apply that to the card market, either like giving people credits when they purchase a spell book or some other options. But it's basically like shifting a lot of these funds from Splinterlands, the company, into the card market. And I think that can be we always want, the goal with everything here is to have free market economy. So what we're doing right now messes up the free market economy, because people are paying Splinterlands, and then so that's where the money's going, and then we're sort of giving them these free cards. They're not actual NFTs that they can own or sell, but they do earn rewards. So from a rewards perspective, it's like unlimited inflation of cards that doesn't add value to the community. So here, if we change that so that players that want to make a ton of accounts have to buy cards from the market, and that will ideally push up market prices as more players do that, and then the free market will kind of even out when that's economically viable or not. And then players in the game should sort of welcome that. If someone wants to come in and make 10,000 accounts to use bots with, fine. They have to buy or rent cards for all of those 10,000 accounts. I mean, that's just a ton of cards. And that should be just really good for the game overall. So that's like kind of the core thing of the change. And with that, it's necessary to update things like the daily quests and the season rewards, in order so that they can work with this new system. And we're, also similarly addressing issues that we've heard from players, like, you come in, you get your 5 wins for your daily quest, and then there's no incentive to keep playing. So we're going to restructure things so that there's always incentive to keep playing kind of as much as you want. You can always potentially earn more from your daily quests and your season rewards. We're going to fix a lot of the issues with like players just getting up to a high season, like in one day of play, a high league in one day of play, and then earning season rewards and kind of being done. Or the issue that like if players get to a high league, they don't want to play more for fear of dropping down and losing those season rewards. So we're kind of taking like all these things and just going back to the core of like, what are the problems with the system that cause all of these issues, and like what's the proper way to fix them, not all these band-aid fixes that we've had to put on over the past 6 months or so. So I think that's just going to be the first of many changes. And once an economy like this is built properly, then you start to see free markets work, and hopefully just this virtuous cycle. Once the economy works properly, there's incentive for people to put in money into the ecosystem to buy the assets. That helps the prices go up. It helps the rewards go up, which encourages people to put in more money to buy the assets, and that just builds on itself. And if you get the core of it correct, that just leads to all this working. So that's like one of the many reasons why I've never been more bullish at this point. And unfortunately, it takes time. So I know people complain like, why isn't there this? Why isn't there that? Why isn't it out yet? I feel the same way. It frustrates me every day. I'm like, this isn't done. It sucks. Like, I want it now. I want it yesterday. But obviously, not only do we need to build it, we need to make sure it works. We need to make sure, that there's no exploits. We also need to make sure it can handle the volume that we have and that we're expecting, in growth over the next year or two, which is not an issue we really had to deal with, prior to like 8 months ago. So yeah, it does take time. It's just as frustrating to me, if not more, as it is to you guys, but that doesn't mean we're not doing it. We're doing it as fast as is reasonably possible. And I think it's just going to be awesome.
One of the things that we always hear is like, this game isn't rewarding enough to new players. New players, especially, like, they don't get enough rewards. It's not inviting. The learning curve is too steep. There's like a million things. I know that you have some thoughts around new bots and new players, and like, walk us through how these changes could be encouraging rather than discouraging to like new humans that are joining our ecosystem.
Well, I mean, basically the whole focus is around, if we incentivize things and we build things properly, it will significantly help new players. Like I mentioned, as our band-aid fixes over the past 6 months or so, were just to reduce rewards in like bronze league significantly. So that sucks for new players, who are coming in and they start in bronze. And it's not necessarily just new players, but it's it could be old players, but just who don't necessarily have thousands of dollars to pump into the game. So we just want the rewards to be proportional to the assets you hold at all levels. So the earning potential in like dollar terms is obviously going to be more for people who have more assets and put in more money. That's just how anything kind of has to work. But it should be in like percentage terms, there should be pretty equal opportunity. Or at least significantly better than it is now for newer players. I mean, there's some economies of scale. Like I said, we want to encourage people to get to higher leagues, so you get better returns there than you would if you have multiple accounts in lower leagues is the goal. But generally, like right now, there's like, it really stinks if you don't have many assets and don't put much money into the game. But we want to make it so that you can earn a reasonable return even with small amounts of funds, and we do that by taking away the advantages or the misaligned incentives that exist currently for like the bot farms and things like that.
All right. Will players earn more rewards chests at lower leagues during this process? Because that is that like a lot of people talk about their frustration of like, well, I grinded it out for an hour and I got one loot box that had a potion in it, and I was not in love with this.
Yeah, so that's another one of the things we identified that kind of sucks. If you're in lower leagues, you just get like one loot chest, and that's just really boring and not fun. So the new reward system is going to have different tiers of loot chests. So there'll be like bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and champion chests. So in all leagues, you'll still be able to earn a significant number of chests. Um, but they'll just have, obviously lower rewards in the lower tier chests. So, a player in bronze might earn 10 chests, and a player in champion might also earn 10 chests. So it's a more fun experience every day to open up a bunch of chests, have more chances of getting good cards. But then the higher leagues will have higher chances of, more dark energy crystals, lower chances of potions, higher chances of higher rarity reward cards, higher chances of gold foil cards, higher chances of Chaos Legion packs. And that will, again, it's still fun at lower leagues. You get to open a whole bunch of chests every day and at the end of the season. But obviously, the incentive is to get into higher leagues in order to get the same amount of chests, but with better stuff in them.
So, am I still going to be able to get a gold foil legendary even if I'm in bronze?
There will always be a chance. It will just be small. I mean, I think that's part of the fun is like even in Bronze 3, you do have a chance of getting, a relatively rare and expensive card. So that chance will always be there. It will happen sometimes, but the chances will just increase as you get into higher tiers.
So I think from the little bit of stuff that I've seen in chat, it seems like this is being pretty well received. How will this roll out? Sometimes we see this as like multiple phases, multiple. Is this going to be one update and suddenly everything is there? Like, how do you? Is this a multi-month long process, or is there a day where it rolls out and we're like, okay, most of the changes have been implemented?
I think the plan is it's not actually as big of a like coding exercise as it might sound. And it's not like we're adding all new screens and stuff. The way the quests and season reward parts of the battle page look will change a little bit. There'll be some info pop-ups and things, but the actual coding work isn't that much. There's a lot of like economy design work. What are the rewards in the chests? What do you need to do to earn the chests? How many chests do you earn on average? And we may not get that stuff right up front. So we put it out and we'll see how it goes and try to adjust if we need to. But like I said, we're hoping that this can be released in April is my hope. Definitely not too much longer than that. And then I think we'll release the code at some point, but it'll go into effect at the end of whatever the next season is. So, because it affects season rewards and things, and we don't want to change that in the middle of a season. So I think the plan is that the code will all be ready to go. And, when the current season ends, then everything going forward will be the new system and, the season rewards for the current season and existing outstanding quest rewards will be the same. And it's just the next one will be new.
All right, and just if in your maybe not your most bullish case, but just like if this thing works and it does what it's supposed to do, what how do you think our ecosystem will change as a result?
Well, like I said, if you get this stuff right, it sort of makes this cycle start happening. If you get the free market economy of this game correctly, which is similar to like DeFi platforms and all this stuff. So just to digress a little bit, where this all comes from is like I'm just super excited about all the innovation that's happening in the decentralized finance space. I mean, sure, there's a lot of scams and a lot of rug pulls and all this nonsense that you hear about, but there's also like an unbelievable amount of financial innovation happening there that was literally just never possible before in human history. And there's new ideas and new concepts being put out and tried at like a record-breaking pace that like it's just literally impossible to keep up with all of it. But part of now that I'm not focusing on everything for Splinterlands, um, you know, like I was previously, I have more time to take advantage and learn about all these platforms and basically like look at the underlying mechanics of how they work, how they incentivize the different activities that they want, what things worked, what things didn't work, and then basically how do we apply that to Splinterlands. So that's like this ranked rewards change is just like one of many things like that. We have many more coming, I think, to properly build this whole system based on, you know, the knowledge gained from these other platforms. Some were failures, some were successes. We can talk about a little later some of the plans and thoughts for the SPS token in this regard, but ultimately it's a simple thing. If we get the reward system and the economy right, it just creates a situation where it incentivizes people to buy assets, so that pushes prices of assets up, that increases rewards, which further incentivizes people to buy more assets. And that's like, if you boil it down, that is what we're going for. And any situation like we had someone creating, you know, 10,000 bot accounts, and sure, they had to pay $100,000 for spell books, but that didn't go into the card economy like it should have. So that didn't push prices up. That didn't cause this like flywheel to start happening. And that's where honestly we screwed up. You know, so I will say I'm sorry, you know, that we did not get it right. But like my goal in life is to figure out where we screwed up, understand the like real reason why it was a mistake, and then fix it going forward. And that's what we're doing here.
Awesome. I want to. We got a couple other folks here, so I want to make sure I talk to them. Nate, you're kind of the next up on my list here. Like as Matt is talking about all these kinds of developments, like what's your role in that? Like what have been the high priorities that you feel like you're racing against? Like what are you finding yourself and your team like trying to prioritize or trying to ship, or where are you feeling that like imminent pressure to get stuff done?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that both internally within the company, and then I think I get the same positive impressions you do from the community, is that the changes that Matt is proposing are great. I mean, they're awesome. It's like, you know, as players ourselves, I'm like with Matt, I'm like, I want to see this happening. I want to start, you know, playing more and more and more, and you know, and seeing all the cool stuff that's coming around. From a creative standpoint, then, you know, as Matt pointed out, it's like easy enough to say, hey, let's do this. But then he listed all the bullet point list of all the different things we have to take into consideration before that can be launched. And, you know, of course, one of those things is finding a user-friendly way to create a user experience and design that experience in a way to where it's understandable, we can make sense of it, and do it in parallel with the work that's ongoing with Modern and Wild. So you got these revamped reward system, and then you got Modern Wild. And in fact, I was talking internally with one of our UX designers earlier today about like, okay, how are we going to do this? We can't go MVP on both. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be weird. So we have to allow for that both of these things are happening at the same time. Let's make sure the UX is clear to new players, veteran players, that everyone sees it, understands it, it's intuitive, it makes sense. You know, everyone gets their, because there's a lot of questions even in the town hall chat right now, asking, well, what about this? What about that? And sometimes that gets put in the tooltips. Other times there's like a little learn more, or maybe we figure all that out. So one challenge is probably the design of it all. Make sure that it is optimal and is as clean and functional and beautiful as possible. But the other part of that is, yeah, all the game assets, all the graphics, all the animations, all that stuff. I think that what's probably going to happen is Matt makes a point of making sure that we get features out to the community as soon as we're possibly able to, within reason, you know, and then we'll polish it up as we go, or we'll iterate after people haven't had a chance to play it, test it, kind of revise the economics of it all. And while that's all happening, add more and more polish, more and more animation, more and more cool stuff. So the art team is hard at work right now. not just the designers for the UX and the UI, but also the art team, trying to prepare the way for making this whole experience for both Modern Wild and the revamped reward system as cool as possible, because we want it to look cool. We want it to be awesome. And so it might not all make it in on phase one, but that's not going to stop us from making sure that we eventually get there to the promised land there. So that's how Creative's handling it right now.
And which of these projects is like highest on your list to ship and get out? Are you guys still working on the rewards changes or Modern and Wild, or is your work done and now it's just development? Like where's the priority for the project pipeline for the creative department right now? Like what's done and what still has to get done?
I mean, there's a lot of TBD. I would say that, and what I mean by TBD, I mean determining, there's this internal race and resources, because we are working in parallel with Modern Wild and Revamped. So, there was a little internal discussion as to, well, which one's actually going to end up being released first? Revamp Reward is kind of the higher priority because we feel like the community is going to be more excited about it. They're going to be like, oh, I'm earning more. I'm getting more. This is so cool. It's so awesome. Not that no one's not looking forward to Modern Wild, but out of the two, those might create the more dramatic sense of excitement. So we're like, okay, we want this first. But at the same time, Cryptomancer's a beast, man. He's working on Modern Wild. He might get that stuff done first, in which case he has a lot of the assets for version 1 MVP kind of ready to go. A lot of that stuff is already done, whereas the rank rewards system is going to probably require more pressure from the creative team to create more layouts, more this, more that. So we'll see. It's a little unclear on what gets released first. We're kind of working that out.
I think I heard in the pre-chat for the show that there was some talk about rewards cards. Matt, is there anything there that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think as part of the new reward changes, just to add to the excitement of everything, I do plan to release. I think we're thinking about 10 new reward cards into the mix. I think they might feature a new ability or two also. That'll kind of be a preview of what's going to be coming up in Rift Watchers. So I think that'll be exciting. I mean, I for one am excited to have some new reward cards, because we've been going with the old ones since September, I think. So it's about time for that.
Sweet. Any eye candy there that you want to show, or
that's Nate's department.
I would say that we haven't given Matt the artwork yet. We're still kind of working through it. But one idea that the narrative team did have, which means that you guys have already possibly seen one of the characters, was in last week's lore story, which was called Change. And if you haven't read it, here it is. As some Mavericks already pointed out in Mavericks chat. First of all, if you guys have any feedback on the lore and feedback on what we're doing with the stories and all that stuff, then we soak it up. We're not in this bubble where like, hey, don't talk to us. We're like, no, please share. Let us know what you think about the stories. Let us know not just the good, but the bad as well. There were some comments about like, oh, wow, geez, this last story was mostly just talking and talking and talking. And we took that to heart at the last narrative meeting. We're like, okay, let's give them more action, more drama in the future. And integrate the meta is what it was referred to in a different way, to where it's more exciting. But one thing that you can walk away from this story with is that there was an interesting character introduced, and he is of the same race, that hippo-looking race, as the recent Chaos Legion Life Summoner. And she's this hippo with the spell book, and she affects range attack. But this character is interesting in that it's the same race, but he has been infected with the vampiric disease. So he's what others would refer to as a dhampir, which is like a half vampire, half something else. And so, let me see. If you guys haven't seen that, the story starts off with this cool scene where he's finishing off. I mean, it's a little morbid, I guess, but he was finishing off this unicorn as a meal, and he felt a little bit ashamed of it. Like when you read the story, you'll be like, well, he didn't want to, but he felt like he needs to in order to survive, to live as this Dampier. And as the story goes on, we get to learn more about that character a little bit. But if he is introduced as one of the characters, we even have a little animation for him already, which is cool because he's flipping this coin, because he does own a network of arenas, and so the pursuit and the accumulation of wealth is something that he is very interested in. But you'll notice he has that big old honking stick, like he's going to bash someone with it. So that you guys may or may not have already previewed a potential character that maybe releases one of the reward cards. We'll see. And if he doesn't make it, yeah.
When do we get to take little animated bits like this and turn it into actual like shorts? I know we're doing the narratives that are like 20 minutes long, but like I am dying, absolutely dying to go get like 2 to 3 minute like short videos about different characters coming out. Like when does that happen?
No, that's a good question. I would say that right now, like the animation I just shared and other animations, those are utilizing what's referred to as spine 2.5D technology, and we utilize that because we're a web-based browser game, and it gets us around the WebGL hurdles and other things we would have to do to add more cool animation type stuff to the game. I would say that that's perfect for the game because, like when you saw Waka on the Waka page doing all this cool stuff, and he was like cool and animated, like this one where he's flipping the coin and he's breathing and doing that stuff. It surprisingly takes very little file size. Just maybe the same file size, not much more file size than a graphic, because it's all sprite sheet brought to life through JavaScript and JSON files in a embedded player on the website. So there's all kinds of cool stuff to do. I think for what you're asking for, though, I think we might go a different direction. I think that, and we've discussed it internally about how much the team so badly wants to bring these published lore stories to life in like what you're saying, like animated clips and stuff. And we might pursue more hardcore animated technology and software in order to make that happen. So we're dipping our toes in the water, and step one of that is trying to slightly adjust the overall art style to accommodate that. And I've shared that in previous town halls, is that, look, every card set we change the art style just a little bit, with the effort to improve and make it better and more polished and more like we can compete at a more AAA game studio level. We're getting there. I see us getting there. And for the next pivot, for the next little adjustment, it's not just how polished can we make it, it's also how much can we support storytelling, how much can we support animated feature film stuff, how much can we support comic books, how much can we support all this other stuff. And so we're almost there. In fact, like for an example, I'm sure I have an example here somewhere. One of our talented artists created, I think Matt's son actually conceived of the idea for this character, and it was in the Untamed set. So what the artist was tasked with as we figure out this new art style is, how can we bring these characters like to life? Like not just something cool to look at, but we want to see how expressive we can get. We want to see how what would it be like once they're animated in like what you're saying, Aggro, in like a little animated clip, or an animated feature web series or an animated feature film or whatever. So this is one of the concepts. This is for the cursed slime. So we show, okay, this is how it looks now, but here, if we were to like bring this character to life, like how would we do that? And so that's a very small example or representation of kind of where we're headed and where we want to take things. So
I want an anime. I want an anime series today. Give it to me.
That's basically what I'm getting at. I mean, when I Pokemon is not the most amazing game that ever played. I mean, like the reason why everybody loves Pokemon so much is because of the animated series, and like you grew up and you watched all the characters, and you fell in love with Pikachu. Like the more that we can actually get out like content that is, I'm not dissing the stories. The stories are a great start, but I think the more the more standard like approach is like a kid's animated show or like an adult cartoon, not adult, but like made for a uh, like people that aren't 10 or something. So
Yeah, for
um,
sure. And I think what we're striving for, at least the creative time, this is, we've had internal discussions over and over again about what we want to do, where we want to go, and that of course includes comic books, that includes animated stuff, and the time and time again, this is something I reinforce over and over again, is like wherever we end up with an art style, what we want to make sure of is that there is a certain production quality. Like usually, if you make a comic book, or I mean, Arcane is a recent example that is the exception of the rule. But most of the time, you come up with an idea and you say, "Well, let's make a cartoon, or let's make a comic book, or let's do this or that," and it's based on a game. It just falls flat on the face because it doesn't bring to bear the full force of quality production. And we want to make sure that we don't make that mistake. We want to make sure that whatever we bring to bear to the market, whatever we produce, is going to be way up here in quality, and that people could look at that and be proud and say, yes, that's they treated that with the same respect as they do the game itself, and they didn't just kind of like pawn it out there to anybody to do whatever, just license off the IP right and say, hey, make something. That's not that. Hopefully we can strive for a higher standard. I think we will. So I think it'll be cool.
Okay. I got a couple guests I got to bring on here too. So why don't Rick Beard, or not Rick Beard, WeirdBeard, do you want to kind of talk us a little bit about tournaments and esports? Where are we with that? And how are things shaping up in your world?
Yeah, well, I'm excited. We had a $10,000 tournament that happened over the weekend. We did some advertising through Twitch that saw our tournament have over 60,000 views on Twitch this weekend over the 2 days between Saturday and Sunday. Um, and that was really cool. Lots of new people were interacting, people jumping into this chat. It was advertised to like uh categories that are similar to CCGs, right? So if you're a Magic fan, you may have gotten shown this. If you're a Hearthstone fan, you may have gotten shown the tournament. We have that, but then one of the other big wins in my world right now is poring over the data, looking over the past month and a half or so since we've instated some of the changes, since we took the pause. We have entries into the tournaments up 30% right now overall. We're consistently hitting the majority of tournaments, except for the more like niche alpha gold type ones, hitting over 100 players. We have like our Silver Shield Knights tournaments now hitting 250 to almost 300 consistently. We're seeing an uptick overall in just real human players entering into these tournaments, which is really, really nice to be able to see. It's hard to separate, between, hey, people are hype and, I'm out there evangelizing tournaments, whether or not that's getting people to enter, or it's, hey, what specific lever are we kind of pulling on to get more people into each of these tournaments? But we've had the noob series, which has been a runaway success so far. Lots of people have been entering into those that we can tell who are first time tournament entrants. And that's upwards of 60% right now of people that are entering into these noob tournaments have never entered into a tournament before. So it's a lot of fun to be able to see it just start to slowly. It feels like it's on a slow incline that's going to hit really quickly here in the next couple of months.
Rock on. Okay, we have a couple guests, so I want to go start. We have three. We have Breeze, we have Kamelot, and we have Mancio. So I see. Let's go do that in order. So Breeze, why don't you go kick us off? Are you there, Breeze?
Hi, Agro. Yes, I am.
All right. So first off, who are you? What do you do? And your accent sounds funny. Are you from Oklahoma?
No, I'm definitely very far away from Oklahoma. I'm in South Africa. And yeah, where our
All right.
summers are like your winters. No, shortly, I'm Breeze. I've been part of the Splinterlands community. I think since the very first time you spoke about your daughters throwing buttons around in the house, and it's just been such a wild ride watching it expand and grow, and now to be a part of that is absolutely a privilege. And I'm just so I'm working in the creative department under Chicklet and Homestead, and I'm doing a lot of the company's technical writing. Um, Unfortunately, I'm sworn to secrecy, so I can't tell you what I write, but I do. And I kind of just lurk around in the shadows and pick up crumbs and document that for the purpose of growing the game forward, for the purpose of documenting processes that we've gone through in order to make things happen. And I remember my father always used to tell me, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So documenting processes throughout is such an integral part of developing and moving forward. Although it's one of the little unsung glories, I suppose, of life. No one wants to see or think documentation necessarily. Everyone wants to get everything done. But it's just one of those important little factors that one can't work past or overlook.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like getting a whole archiving department going, and for all of the projects, we do an agile process. The guys do a 1 week sprint. New things are created and new content gets out there. I think like finding a way to go archive all of this stuff really well would actually behoove us because at some point we might want to tell stories about what we did and the order that we did it and how did we get here and
Absolutely.
um, so that's been on my brain, and I'm glad that's something that is of value to you. So, what give us?
Absolutely. Yeah, the creative team, we've got our own little bookshelf section, which is our private little library. We starting to gather any and all kinds of documentation. Sorry, I'm
And,
heavily medicated for your entertainment today, Agro.
oh, perfect. That's always my preference. When we're like, what project are you working on now, or is there one in particular that is like high on your priority or cool list that you're pretty excited about?
Um, all of them are so amazing. Um, I think I'm very, very privileged to work with the teams as they move things out into the public sector. So I get little sneak previews of things, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm working with John on the land expansion at the moment, and I'm documenting that for him. We're also another thing, for example, you think you know the game. I mean, I've been playing this game literally since the first day it came out. And you think you know the game really well until you get asked to write the functional documentation for the game. You'd be surprised. You'd be so surprised at how much you didn't know. Um, yeah, I'm working with Homestead on moving out the land. I'm working with Raven on the music side of things, doing some documentation for her, and yeah, it's just nice to lurk around in the shadows and get information and learn more as you go.
Awesome. All right. Well, um, I want to keep poking around, but if is there some kind of thought that you want to leave us with, or something that you're really excited about, or really like what do you want like the audience to walk away remembering or thinking about from like how we have the sort of role of technical writing, like what is the key benefit going to be for the players, and how are they gonna experience the work that you're providing?
Well, I would definitely say the documentation that I'm working on creates the baseline for absolutely everything that gets put out, whether it is the frequently asked questions when they have a problem, when they are stuck, whether it's, this is the fundamental basis of getting the final product that the players get to enjoy out there. This is also the documentation itself helps us to when we are releasing something in the future, we've got a process to look back on, say this worked, this didn't work, let's follow this path. So I think the documentation structure itself just creates a foundation for a stronger building structure forward. And I know the game is going strong and everyone on the team is doing such an amazing job at building and creating that. But at the end of the day, if you strengthen your foundations, your house will be stronger. And I see the entire Splinterlands group as my family. So you want them to live and be in a safe, beautiful house. So for me, that is the documentation, and that is where it comes into play.
Awesome. It takes a special person to really be that excited about, documenting things, because that's not everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody takes it as seriously as you do. So thanks for bringing that energy and that intent and that will, and grateful you're here, and thanks for having been here from like you said, the day one. It's awesome to have you here, Breeze. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy that your children were throwing each other with buttons.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, the initial storyline for where Splinterlands came from was my kids were fighting, and I imagined them tearing a button off of a shirt or a collar, throwing it on the ground, and out of that a monster would appear and the monsters would fight instead. And so that's the original thought of summoners and monsters, where I just wanted there to be proxy fighting rather than actual fighting between my kids. So, awesome. All right, Breeze, I'm going to move on Camelot, but thanks for being here. Thanks for talking to us, and thanks for keeping our history in order.
My pleasure.
All right, Camelot, are you there?
Hello. Hi.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you here and talking to the audience. You want to tell us what you do? Give us a little
Sure.
introduction.
All right, yeah. So my name is Kamelot. You guys can call me Cam for short. And I'm part of the QA team. My job is pretty much to um, work with the devs to make sure that any updates that they're making, those should be working correctly. And if not, I let them know what isn't working, and I tell them what steps I took to reproduce any issues. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
What is your background to do that? What are you? Do you have development? Are you like a gamer? What made? How did you become a good fit for that gig?
So I've actually done QA for some previous employers. I've done that for about 2 years, um, and I've played games pretty much my entire life. So you know bugs, any issues, those are really noticeable, and you know I've grown to to notice these things and to kind of think outside of the box sometimes, with issues and trying to identify them.
So what's the most recent thing that you were reviewing?
In Splinterlands, I can point you guys towards a document that we posted on the tech support update channel. Um, we have a few updates going out that I'm currently working on. I believe the highlight from that is to hide opponents, the names of the opponents at least. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. And how would players um, you're a little bit behind the scenes. How are players going to experience the kind of work that you do here? What would it mean? What does it mean to them that you're here and you're working on these things?
So if I'm doing a good job, they shouldn't really notice too much because, all of those updates should be working properly. They shouldn't really see any bugs. Um, and I think in terms of like that, like yeah, they won't notice too much there.
Okay. Um, anything in particular that you're stoked for, or that like, um, some kind of methodology or madness that you bring to this, or what brought you to Splinterlands in particular? I don't know if any of those questions resonate.
Um, yeah, I'm actually really excited about pretty much all of the changes that Matt talked about. Like that's gonna be really exciting for the community. I think it's gonna be really exciting for, just the game in general, and I think it's gonna help growth a lot. So I'm really looking forward to that, honestly.
Sweet. All right. Well, Camelot, I appreciate you being here. I'm grateful that you're, looking at the new developments and making sure that they're all working as expected. I agree with you that, like, the benefit to players, if it all goes smoothly, they won't even know you were there, and they won't be buzzing people and talking to the devs like, hey, how come this doesn't work? Because it's like infinitely better to have you catch a mistake, as like the before we release these things than afterwards.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
thank thanks for keeping the code clean and making sure that our vision for how these things work is rolling out that way. And thanks for doing that with some diligence and making sure that our players and our community have a good experience.
My pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Last up in the new employee sort of introductions is Mancio92. Mancio, are you there?
Hello, do you hear me?
I can hear you great. How are things?
Hey, all good. Yeah.
Do you want to give us a little introduction and just tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes. So, well, by the way, I'm from Italy, so you can guess it from my accent, maybe. So I work in the engineer department and mostly work in React, and I'm doing the non-card market now. Yes. So actually, that's what I do. Yeah. Now for now.
So in case you missed that, he said the non-card market. Do you want to even explain what a non-card market is? This might actually break chat here in a moment.
Basically, it's where you trade the stuff that they are not card.
All right, and then where are you? Where are you in that development? Like what? Like is this? Are we right about to finish? Are we quarters and quarters away? What are we working on?
So now currently we are working to report all the part from the nav bar. So what is common with the old application, and so that part is almost finished. So I think probably next week we will go out with a demo from us, like developer, so that people they can see if everything works.
Wow. So
Yeah. So
in
exit, I don't know when it's
So
to.
that's a hell of an alpha. So a week from now, we think that we'll be testing this thing, like
Yeah,
with
but
Mavs or something.
no. With us, I mean, for us as a developer. So we will have
Okay.
everything working that is managing from the past software to the new software.
All right. But that, I mean, even that, like if we're that sounds like testing internally. Generally if that testing goes well, then you start testing externally. Like that's pretty quick.
That's correct. Unless I didn't break something while I was coding, it should be good, no?
So what do you think will appear on the non-card market first? What are you currently trying to put in there? Or what are the highest priority pieces?
But this one actually I still don't know. I don't have an overview on this, what we are going to put it on there. So this one
Oh,
is it's coming.
okay. Uh, Sweet. Yeah. Everybody keeps saying land, land, land. Yeah, I mean,
I can give a little bit of an overview also, like
nice.
part of what
Go
they're
for it.
doing. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, making the market for all the other items, which are currently like land claims, packs, all that stuff. They're also like, currently everything in Splinterlands is kind of this makeshift web development framework that I sort of set up since we first launched the game. So they're using newer tooling. He mentioned React, which is a popular web development framework, and they're going to have this non-card market, which is a really bad name, but that's that's the best we've come up with so far. Use an entirely different framework for the front end website development of it, which will just make it look a lot better on mobile right out of the box. Eventually, we want it to be a situation where the mobile app and the desktop app aren't separate apps, and this is kind of a step in that direction, using this kind of self-contained project as like a starting place for that. And assuming that all goes well, then that will also be how the front end for Land is developed. And obviously Land is going to be much more involved from a front end development perspective than most of the things we've done to date, because we're going to have maps and, all these different views and animations and all these different things. So that's sort of like a first step to build out a better, just like overall framework for how we develop web applications going forward.
Sweet. So, so it sounds like we have a couple more weeks of testing, and then it sounds like we're going to start getting some new variety of tradable or more easily tradable things on what I guess I'd call the supplemental market.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, currently all the things are tradable on, either Wax, Atomic Hub, or Hive Engine. But yeah, we want them to be right in the game website for credits and dark energy crystals. So that's been a priority for a while.
Sweet. All right, Nancy, anything else you want to add, or any part of this that like you're really excited about and just want to share with users about how you're coding and how you're thinking about things?
Well, actually, I can say that here is super nice. We follow a good standard of coding, so I feel pretty comfortable of what I'm doing, and it's the code is clean. So it's when we have a bug, we can fix it, even if it's a prior one. Nothing else. Everything is good so far.
And how long have you been working with Splinterlands?
I started on the 28th of February.
All right,
It's
so you're
almost 1 month.
yeah, and you have an accent too. Do you want to share something about where you're from for the audience?
I'm from Italy.
Okay,
And I live in France.
and you live in France.
Yeah,
Okay.
for love.
And like we do remote first here. Have you had any difficulties kind of like finding a rhythm that works for the development teams and the product teams, or has like being in Europe just been no big deal and easy to fit in and just
No, it's not big deal. Everything is it's fine, because actually we are not really far away. Yeah, it's gonna be like 5 hours.
Yep.
I'm doing this. Yes, exactly. It's 5 hours. Sometimes I think the only problem is that I'm not really good on calculating the time zone.
Yeah, that's always a pain in the butt. All right, Mansell. Well, I wanted to say thanks. I'm stoked to have people working on our front end. I'm excited to go see the non-card market or the supplemental market or the yard sale or whatever we're going to call it. Thanks for working on it. Thanks for choosing to work here, and I hope that your first month of being at Splinterlands has felt good to you. And as you get a more and more like rich grasp on our code, I look forward to seeing the other things that you create and seeing what comes out of this team.
Thanks.
All right, Matt, there's been so much talk about Land, and you're going to go away for a month. So why don't you give us kind of your thoughts on Land, and then I'll start answering some questions. But what are you seeing for Land? How are we going to roll it out? What's it going to look like? Any sense of timing or anything that you feel comfortable sharing? And just like, I want to take the last couple minutes with you and go get kind of like a when Land summary or what Land summary, or what does this process look like?
Yeah, I guess I do land and SPS. I guess that they're obviously related, but I think those are two big, major, important things. So generally, I mean, land. We've kind of put out the posts when we initially did the pre-sales and everything. That's still overall the plan for what we're planning to do. And now we're in the process of going through kind of all the details and getting ready for phase one. So what Mancio was talking about, we're building out a new system for the front end development for land. So these, I don't know, it's kind of in this stage of like putting all the building blocks in to get like a much better experience out, versus just the typical experience we've put together. Looking better on mobile devices through the same website. Smoother ability to do more animations and cool things. So I don't have timing or any of that yet to share with anybody, but like we're starting to do the groundwork to put it all together. And the first phase for land, again, which we've shared, is going to be redeeming the land claims tokens to get your actual plot NFTs. So you'll be able to redeem your claims. You'll get see if your plot is a forest or a mountain, if it has what type of resources it has. There's magical resources, there's natural resources. It could be occupied by, enemies. You can find out the rarity and all that stuff. And then there'll be the market for buying and selling those land claims. You'll also be able to see where on the map each of your plots are, within what region, if there's a castle, keep, all that stuff. So that's phase one of land. Obviously, like I've said before, it's frustrating to me and most of the people working here that these things take so long, but they just do, to kind of build them right. And then also we have to now think of like, okay, what if, the game 10x's in growth again, which I don't think is unreasonable with all the things coming, later this year. We want to make sure like things don't fall apart again like they did last year. So it's not just throw it out there as quickly as possible. It's like, let's build this system the right way. And Mancio was talking about, he's a React developer and how the code he's working with is nice, and easy to work with. In the past, it's been for new developers, it's been, hey, learn this weird thing that Matt kind of threw together, in order to work on the game. And that's not super scalable. It makes it difficult to bring in new developers. So if we build it using more popular tools, more clean, organized, and modern way, it'll make it easier. So I know everyone wants like all these like details on like what exactly is going to be happening with land. Unfortunately, we're still not there yet. But again, what I mentioned before is like I've been spending a lot of time basically doing market research, mostly in the DeFi space. And all that learning is going to go into land. So land, there's going to be a whole bunch of different resources. It's going to include automated market making pools internally to the game for trading all these resources, and that will allow us to also incorporate all the other DeFi elements that are built on top of those type of pools and different ways for people to earn. Aside from just playing the game and battling, there'll be, liquidity providers, and there could be, even potentially lending platforms and like all these things, but built on top of the core of the Splinterlands game. And that's what, that stuff is just super exciting, taking all that innovation and putting it into a gamified mechanic. Because to me, like one of the things I always thought about, even well before Splinterlands and cryptocurrency and any of that, I was always a big gamer. I spent so much time playing games. I spent a lot of money playing games. And like I would earn so much in-game currency and so many in-game items and all this stuff. And I was like, well, if life was gamified this way, like what if I spent so much time and effort earning like real currency or earning real collector's items or things, that would take this time that's sort of just wasted and put it on, still having fun with these games, but here I'm earning like actual value for my life, that you can spend and buy things with. So that's sort of what I see the play to earn and blockchain gaming space being, right? It's instead of just spending all this time and effort, earning these fake currencies that have no real value and these items that you don't own and have no value. It's the same thing, but now you're actually, putting it to good use and earning, valuable items in real life. And so that's like in the back of my mind as we're doing this, like what we're doing, and all the innovation that I've seen is going to manifest partly in the SPS token, which if I have some time, we can talk about what we're doing with that. But also like even way more in land, because it just has so many more like pieces and so many more cool things that we can do. So that's my overview.
Going to land. I think. Look, we get you once a month. So go ahead and tell us. What's happening next for SPS. Where are validators at, and what are some of the innovations that you want to pull in from DeFi into SPS?
Yeah. So, first of all, we released like an SPS roadmap post, I think in December of last year. And in my opinion, people are like totally discounting a lot of these things. I mean, just like for a simple thing, SPS, when it jumped up to over $1 most recently, was when we did the Chaos Legion pre-sale, and there was a 10% discount for using SPS tokens. So obviously it would make sense for people to buy SPS in order to get the Chaos Legion packs, which was reflected in the price. I mean, we've already told everyone very clearly we're going to be selling the entire Rift Watchers edition of cards exclusively for SPS. So to me, it's just like nuts. If you can't think a few months out that there's, Chaos Legion was 10x the amount of packs of Untamed, so I expect Rift Watchers to be roughly 10x the amount of packs of Asmare Dice. So that would be like 3 million packs, let's say, for possibly $5 worth of SPS a pack. And you do the math. So, obviously, again, I'm not speculating on the price. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's just like simple things of like, our goal in life is to provide more value for the SPS token. Rift Watchers is one of many ways we're going to be doing that. Some other ways, you asked about the validator nodes. We talked earlier about how we're building completely new things that haven't been done before. So it's hard to estimate timing. My estimates were way off on the validator node, so I apologize for that. It's pretty close to building our own blockchain platform. I mean, all the transactions will be on Hive, but really it's going to be our own platform, very similar to other blockchain platforms. And there's just a lot of work going into making sure all of that works properly. The good news is that we're currently doing internal testing of it on a QA environment. So it is getting closer. One of the things we are planning to do that I'll share, which we haven't released yet, is we're planning to allow. Yeah.
Alpha leak. Here it is. Alpha leak.
We're planning to allow people to purchase licenses for running the nodes. So the code will be open source. It will be free, and anyone can download it and run it for free. But in order to earn rewards, I mean, basically there'll be two ways you can earn rewards. One way is, you can have other people who have staked SPS vote for you to be a top validator, just like in any delegated proof of stake system like Hive, or any of the others. But the kind of the problem with that is, if you're not really, only like the top 20 to 50 people will have enough votes to really be earning a significant amount of rewards. And there's really no incentive for anyone else to run the validator nodes, if they're not going to be one of those 20 to 50 people at most. So we looked at what, Gala's done with their nodes, and we kind of want to integrate that as well. So the reward pool will be split. There's a reward pool that'll go to people who get the votes from SPS stakeholders and are the ones responsible for actually validating the transactions. But then players will be able to purchase licenses so they can run a node and just earn just for running the node. And this way we can hopefully encourage like thousands and thousands of nodes to be run all around the world, which it really helps for the decentralization and distribution of this whole platform. And all the purchasing.
The rewards go entirely to the Splinterlands Corporation, right? And we just get to make bank by doing that.
No, so the idea is that when you purchase a node, it'll be for a certain dollar value worth of SPS, and that will all just be burned. And vouchers are going to be a requirement also. And we're working out the exact details. But the idea is that we'll have some type of pre-sale, so you can purchase licenses before they're even live, before the SPS validator system is live, and let our current players kind of get in early. But it's just a simple spend versus reward calculation. Let's say it's $1,000 of SPS and some vouchers, and you can look at the reward pool, which we'll be publishing all the information about, and see you can expect to make this amount of SPS from running a node with this license over the next year or whatever period. And the idea is that initially it'll be pretty lucrative, we hope, to buy nodes, and we hope a number of them will be bought initially, and that will hopefully provide some upward pressure to the SPS price as tokens are being bought and burned. And then the idea is that as more licenses are purchased, the price will go up in sort of groups or tranches. So after the first, say, 1,000 are purchased, the next set might be double the cost, but it's dollar value in SPS. So the hope is that they might not sell out. It might not be economically viable to buy those initially, but hopefully as the SPS price increases over time, then it will become economically viable to purchase those at that price. And then after a while, the price will jump up again. For anyone who follows Gala Games and their nodes, it's been incredibly successful. And we just hope, again, this goes back to the whole flywheel concept of as people purchase and burn SPS to get node licenses, it should hopefully help the price along with all the other things that we're doing, which will then make it economically viable to purchase the higher price node licenses and so on and so forth. And again, like I said, a key thing is it's not our company selling this. All of this goes toward the SPS holders and the whole ecosystem of the game, and just increasing the price of assets and the rewards available. So we think the combination of sort of the DPoS, the delegated proof of stake system, and these voucher licenses is going to be really powerful. I should mention that the licenses will be NFTs. They'll be tradable. It will be possible to purchase and use multiple licenses, with a single instance of the software. So it's really up to players, what they want to do, and community members. But I think it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna help the value of the assets. It's going to look good in the general wider crypto community of we now have this open source node software running the code, and that there should hopefully be thousands of nodes running all over the world, that keep this thing running and less risk on us as a company.
That's a hell of a drop. Is this only going to be available to developers? Only Matt-like people are going to be able to do this, and you have to be an extreme developer of 30 years to be able to operate this? Are we just making a technocracy out of this?
Well, obviously the goal is to not do that. Our goal is to have simple Windows and Mac installers for this software, but to earn all the rewards, you will need to have it be running 24/7. So a lot of people might opt to do it within a data center somewhere, like Amazon or whatever, because obviously if your computer gets shut off or you lose internet connection, you will not be able to earn rewards during that time, since you won't be running the software. It'll also be possible for people to pool licenses. So even if you're I don't want to run this thing, I don't know anything about it, but you want to get some licenses, you could potentially pool them, with a trusted third party that can run the software for you. I envision there will be even node operating services, sort of like there are on Ethereum and other platforms now, that people can sort of buy into with their licenses. But the idea is it should be as easy as possible for anyone to run on any sort of different systems.
Is that delegating my NFT to a pool? Is that what that would look like?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that sounds pretty incredible. I mean, so much of the stuff that I've always really liked is, when I didn't have, I'm not a developer. I can now run a fair number of programs on um, virtual private servers and getting things going. But when I started, I had none of that. And that was what, back in 2016 or something. I guess I started my Witness in 2017. And so to me, I always got really frustrated, in particular around Hive and like the Ninja Mine, that it was really just developers that had so much say, so much power, so much stake, and developers, as wonderful as they are not really representative of all of humanity. That is a very narrow group of people with a certain bend to their personality that I think is fairly common. And what I like about what you're here or what you're saying here is that it I want them to be here and I want them to be operating these things and I want them to participate, but I don't want to just establish them as the new leaders of everything that we're doing. And I feel like there were times that the Ninja Mine that happened on Steam led to that kind of environment. And I think from what you're describing, it won't lead to that same kind of development here, in part because the rewards that we're talking about, and one of the things that I really like about Splinterlands in general is that there's so many different freaking pathways to get rewards. So this is not the only pathway, and it's not even the majority pathway. It's a pathway, and as part of that pathway, you could do the elected route, or you could go this sort of like delegated route, and that to me just sounds pretty awesome. That's a lot of flexibility and a lot of competition around how people might be participating and how they might get rewarded.
Yeah, that's sort of something that's going to be coming up sooner rather than later. Like I said, we'll probably start pre-selling these licenses and announce all the details even before the validator nodes are actually out and ready to be run. It's actually not of all the things we're doing with SPS. There's things that I think are more exciting and innovative than that. A lot of those things are going to come later in the year, though, after the airdrop is done. I just think, we kind of want to wait for the airdrop to complete and things to settle down for a little bit before releasing some of the new and interesting features that we plan. So, I'll save that for later in the summer, maybe. But yeah, there's so much coming.
Do you want to tease them at all, or are we gonna wait another month or two before talking about them? You can do whatever you want here, Matt, but just give you the opportunity.
One of the things is the concept. Like we everyone who's been here a little while knows that our goal with dark energy crystals was to have them be a relatively stable token, and obviously things went a little haywire now with the SPS airdrop, which is fine. It is what it is. But I think as I've studied a lot of algorithmic stable coins more, especially platforms like Terra, and their Luna token, which has just been doing fantastically well. I think we have a better just real quick, for algorithmic stable coins, sometimes they're backed by other assets. Sometimes they're backed by some type of, algorithm or bonding structure that never really seems to work well. But the way we used to back dark energy crystals in the past was they're backed by our products. So, at some point, I think, Chaos Legion packs will be available for 4,000 dark energy crystals. So if dark energy crystals prices ever fell on the market to where 4,000 dark energy crystals was significantly less than $4, they would be bought up quickly by people who are interested in getting Chaos Legion packs at a discount. So we sort of had a attempt at a stable coin that was backed by actual products that people wanted to buy, which I think is a much more powerful way of actually backing a coin value, and is pretty cool. And I think now that I've, like I said, I've done more research on other platforms and what works and what doesn't, and how we can sort of leverage both our new governance token in SPS with this idea of backing a coin with products. I think we can do something similar, but potentially better than even what Terra is doing with their stablecoin mechanism. And so these are all the things like we are planning to do, and basically have Splinterlands be its own DeFi platform, right? If you have a stable coin and you have all this stuff, can you do lending, right? Why wouldn't you be able to put up Splinterlands cards or land or other assets as collateral, and mint dark energy crystals as a loan. And it's like similar to how MakerDAO and other platforms work. There's all sorts of like crazy, amazing, cool things we can do. But the key is that they're all backed by this game that we've built and the product that people like. And it's not all just, sort of coming from nothing as a lot of these DeFi platforms are. They don't have any actual underlying value kind of backing everything that they're doing. So I think that's where we have the advantage. So I don't know. I could just go on and on and on about all this stuff. But that's what we're working on behind the scenes.
And other than that, there's not a lot going on here. I mean, I don't know. We'll try to get more done. That's about it. But I don't know. That's a good tease. I think that's a good start. If there's a reality verse model that would like to go pop out the set of questions, I think we should go try to hit through some of the big ones there. And then after that, if there is any time for questions, we can do some of that. Reality, you there? Can you drop the questions? This is like the one time that she. Oh, it's Alfred today. Okay, so thanks, Alfred. Let's go look through these. There's 3 pages of questions, and they seem like they're pretty different. Let's try to plow through these to give at least a couple times for players at the end of this. But tournaments, will there be a draft mode, like pick 1 summoner from 5 random summoners, then 1 monster from 5 random, same splinter that you choose, and so on until you have a full deck?
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I will say that I am very well aware of a need from the players to have draft mode tournaments and other cool tournaments like that on the way.
All right. It was mentioned in a past AMA that there would be extra benefits to land for being in a guild. Will the benefits incentives be the same for everyone who is in a guild, or will it depend on the level of the guild? So
that's a good question. I just want to mention, like, one of the other projects that we didn't even talk about is I think there's a lot of like new ideas and work to be done on the guild system, even before land, because we haven't really had any updates since Brawls were released. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. But in my opinion, yeah, guilds are going to be a really important part of the land expansion. And I think getting not only to higher level guilds to get more benefits, but also getting, more brawl levels, like leveling up your brawl buildings and all that stuff. Well, I envision those being pretty important benefits for land.
Awesome. Sora, when do you expect there to be a UI update to the store to trade totems, pots, and packs? We heard about that today, so I would say that internal testing begins maybe as soon as next week. So following internal testing is typically external testing, unless we find some stuff that's broken. So we're getting pretty close on that. Cards. Is the plan in the future to release card sets more frequently, similar to TCGs, even if in lower quantity than the current Chaos Legion set?
I don't think so. In my opinion, like, games like Magic just release stuff way too fast. I think it was actually very helpful for the game as a whole, to be sold out of things for a while and not just always have, because it's, again, when you have things that, like, are just digital assets that players don't own, sure, you can just pump them out all the time because that's all it is. But here, like, we want to maintain the collectability and the value of even older assets, and the more we just pump out, it's like inflation to the system. So I think our current cadence has been pretty good, actually.
All right. What team splinter will the next Waka type card summon? That's not released yet, but we'll let you know. Modern versus Wild. What are the power requirements for Modern? Will it be less since Modern cards have less burn value?
Yeah, I think the plan is that the power requirements will be half as much in Modern, just because the Chaos Legion cards have half the collection power. That's the current plan right now.
Okay, battles. Is it possible to get some transparency on the matchmaking rules in terms of the percent probability of each kind of rule appearing and the likelihood of getting higher, lower mana battles?
Each rule should have equal probability of appearing. We do have mechanisms to, like, weight certain rule sets more, which we do when new rule sets come out, which is also something I'd love to get out too, is just new rule sets on a regular basis. But they should all be equal at this point. And same with higher, lower mana cap battles. I think after, like, 30 mana cap, it increases by 2s up to now the new high is 60, where it used to be 50. But other than that, they should all be of equal likelihood.
Is it no, I just did that. Any updates on Splitterfest? I'm gonna wait for Liam. He's currently at NFTLA, and Richard is actually at GDC. So two of our senior guys are sort of out hitting the tour circuit. So I'm gonna hold off on the Splinterfest stuff, and we'll see what he has to say when he comes
Well,
back.
I can
Oh.
add, though, after working with our new partnerships manager, Robbie Landis, we are looking at being able to possibly host it at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, where we would have like a live esports tournament type thing and lots of other things. It's exciting because I just want people to know that when we say Splinterfest, we don't just mean, hey, let's all get together in a room and hang out for a little bit. Like, it's going to be an event and have cool things attached to it as well.
Okay. Well, I see. I know we're looking at the HyperX Arena. Yep. If we can get that arena, we can do live tournaments. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what that might look like. What are the uses of SPS token in game? So here's like a quick series of SPS questions. So what are the uses of SPS token in game?
Currently, there's not a whole lot yet. The main one is staking it in the game, and you earn SPS and voucher rewards. Then we did the walk-up promotion. We were going to do additional promotions that allow SPS tokens. But if you check out the SPS white paper at sps.splinterlands.com, it kind of goes through in more detail the other planned uses we're going to have. Including being able to like stake on players to earn. And I feel like there was others that I'm blanking on now. Yeah, I mean, you can use them to buy credits, definitely. Well, governance, I mean, is the biggest thing, right? It's the governance token. So, you'll be, when the validator nodes are released, you'll be able to vote on who the top validators are that are responsible for securing the chain. You'll be able to vote, actually submit proposals and vote on them for changes to the game, to card stats, to kind of everything at some point. So that's the main use.
Where can I trade my SPS for DEC?
Currently, you can trade it on the Hive Engine platform is probably the easiest. You could also do it on Ethereum, which does have significant fees. You can do it on Binance Smart Chain through PancakeSwap. One of the things that we're sort of working on with some third party companies is to just make it a lot easier to get SPS and DEC and trade them just right from within the game interface. So we won't offer those services ourselves, for regulatory reasons, but we do want to make it just super easy, even using fiat and credit cards or bank transfers, just to buy those things right from the game interface. So that's yet another project that's ongoing.
And then any news about new exchanges planning to list SPS? Anything that we want to say publicly about that?
I mean, no, we do talk to a number of exchanges. We obviously, if there were things, we wouldn't be able to say them anyway. But my thought on this matter is that we just have so much amazing stuff coming out for SPS and the game in general over the course of the next year, that my expectations are that things are gonna, my hope is that we see sort of another blow up, a good type of blow up like we did last summer in just like the player base, in the monetary base in this ecosystem. And when things are starting to go that way, then I look at it as exchanges are going to be coming to us rather than the other way around. So I'm not like, trying to like jump the gun and like go through all the crazy stuff we might need to like buy exchange listings. I plan to just build out an awesome product to make the exchanges come to us.
Yep. Imagine Dragons, any plans to release the Imagine Dragons animations? I can't find them on YouTube. We got the V2 of that done, right, Nate?
Yeah. In fact, those guys sent us, I guess, a recording to set our minds at ease that it's working. They showed us, I think, a couple. I don't know if it was the same concert or two different concerts. I think it was the same concert, and they showed it multiple times. on the screens right there up at the stage. I can I did upload the video they sent us to our company Google Drive. I could share that link if you want. I don't know if I would, do it right here live on the. Well, here I'll share the link. Are you okay with that? Do you want me to
do
share
the
the link?
thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, someday we'll upload the actual video as a YouTube video or something. But this is like if you're out in the crowd with your phone and you're like trying to see these two screens up on the stage. That's what this little link is. So if you guys want to check it out, feel free to go check out as if you're in the crowd watching the Splinterlands trailer.
Yeah, but we should also get them the real trailer and put that on the official things.
Yeah.
Game growth. What is the projected spellbook purchasing player growth for 2022 and beyond? It's tough to say because we have all these developments. So if, Bitcoin stays at 40 and we don't develop anything, then it's probably going to be low. And if Bitcoin goes up and SPS goes up and these changes hit and everybody's as excited about them as we think they ought to be, then like Matt said, we think there's another giant boom of players that's waiting in Q3, Q4 of this year. So it's a little bit tough to say right now, but I think we'll get more clarity on that as we're able to sort of see how the latest developments impact user acquisition. These are suggestions. So anytime that you have a suggestion, you can always put these things on feedback.splinterlands.com. Have you considered giving the following new skill to one of the new legendary chaos summoners? Provoke. Give taunt to a monster in the first position. So that would be like a summoner ability, I suppose.
Yeah, I haven't considered that one in the next specific ability, but they do sound cool. I'm always open to new ability ideas or rule set ideas. So I don't know, we should have maybe some type of forum that does not include DMing me to put all those ideas in place, and we can kind of go through them and pick the ones that make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a time where you find yourself in a good spot, like in between projects, where we could go get a whole bunch of these new ideas and maybe just code up some of those as a short project, that would be one of the ways I think we could do that.
We are going to be implementing some new abilities with Rift Watchers, for example. So those aren't set in stone yet.
Yeah. So when we get there and we're at Rift Watchers, we should probably crowdsource some ideas of what players want and then see which are the most anticipated. So the next one was, have you considered a new skill for a monster, Contagious? Every hit this monster receives has a 50% chance to infect the attacker with poison. I like that. Sort of like poisonous versus venomous.
Yeah.
Is it possible to add something that tells players how much DEC they have earned? I know there's a balance history, but it takes kind of long and gets tricky calculating everything up. Don't we have like a full balance history?
Yeah, I think there's
API
like a tax export type of thing on the website now. I'm not sure if that's what this question's asking specifically, because it's sort of like just a more detailed balance history in a lot of ways. I think there's been talk of like having some kind of dashboard page, sort of like a earnings dashboard, so you can see, all the things like how much are you earning from quest rewards and season rewards and ranked battles and SPS staking and all that different stuff in one place. But that just hasn't been kind of high on the priority list.
It would be awesome to see some statistics on this: earnings, rental, value of purchase cards, all the possibilities to edit the time frame. So aren't we? We're going to try to work that out with Peak Monsters, right? See if that's not something they'd put together.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, obviously, any third-party websites are more than welcome to implement any of these type of things.
Why not pay out more players on the leaderboard, such as the top 1,000 players, instead of the top 30 to 40, by skimming 10% off the prizes currently given to the top 30 and giving 10 to 20 DEC to everyone down to 500 or 1,000 players will look far more attractive to new players. Easier to imagine getting into the top 1,000 and then work your earnings up from there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree overall that the leaderboard prizes need some rethinking. That's not like in the V1 that we're working on for the ranked reward changes right now, but I'll just say I think that needs to be looked at.
Can we please have a timer sound notifications during the enemy found screen?
Yeah, I
Well,
think that
yeah.
sounds good.
I think we're building out the multimedia part of creative, and that has to do with really expanding upon the music and the sound effects that come with the game. The objective being that I want players to really feel like they're missing out if they're have the game on mute. So so definitely, and then on top of that, I think we were talking before this the town hall started. We were talking internally about the fact that that we're going to update the team building stage as well, not just with showing what quest you're working on, but also the design team's been at work trying to figure out, well, what other ways can we show that you're running out of time to build your team. So a progress bar that gets smaller and changes color from green to yellow and red, and a little that little hourglass, we want to animate it so it's kind of pulsing and shaking and giving you another indicator, a clue that, hey, you're starting to run out of time. So and hand in hand with that goes the sound effects and maybe even some music. Maybe we go Doom on it, where as you get closer to running out of time, you start hearing your heartbeat, boom, 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 going quicker, or something like that. So there's some cool ideas.
Can we get common summoners as reward cards?
Stayed away from doing too many summoners and reward cards. Mostly the idea is that, I don't know, we kind of want, reward cards are good, but you also really have to still buy either packs or cards in the market or rent cards in the market to really be able to play the game. Like, you can't just get everything you need from reward cards. So that's been the thinking. I'm not saying that's like set in stone or will never change, but that's why we've generally stayed away from summoners as reward cards.
If I understand correctly, Wild will contain all cards. Why not have Wild contain all cards except the cards that are in Modern? If that's not an option, could you explain why the idea is to have all the cards in Wild?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think that's how it generally works in other similar games, although that's not by itself a good reason. But to me, it's that we still want, even players that have large collections of the older cards and play in Wild, we still want them to be incentivized to get the newer cards. We don't want to have it be like, well, I play in Wild, and so I just am never going to buy Chaos Legion packs or any of the new packs. I don't know. So that was kind of my thinking as to why all the cards are allowed in Wild.
Would the team consider adding a season or weekly objective achievement to keep up engagement within the game? Example, at the start of the season, a player gets to choose a untradeable summoner. Over the course of the season, as objectives are met, the selected summoner gets leveled up. Max level depends on the CP, the league the player is in.
I guess it's not exactly this, but one of the main goals around the ranked reward changes we are doing right now that I talked about earlier is to specifically deal with the fact that right now, you finish your daily quests and there's kind of no more incentive to keep playing, or you got to a higher league in the season and there's no incentive or even disincentive to keep playing, so you don't want to fall down to a lower league. So the way that we're planning on revamping the quest and season rewards is specifically to address that and make it so that there's always more benefit by playing more and by playing daily to keep up engagement.
Will the new land expansion feature the places that we see in the lore? For example, will New Everett exist in the actual implementation of Pretoria to the north of it, the Jade Forest, etc.?
Yeah, it'll that stuff is definitely going to be on the maps. It just won't be player owned. So you will have an opportunity to live next to something that occurs or some event that happened in the lore, because it is based on locations in Pretoria. Sure.
Could the tournaments page list next to each tourney how many places are paid? I think this will encourage people to join more tournaments if they see some of them are actually risk-free, like if one is paying 256 players but only has 200 entries so far.
I mean, could it? Yes. Do we have other things that are higher up on the priorities list that I gotta knock out first? Yes. Like any little tidbits like that, please drop them in the Discord channel, the tournaments one, because we collect those, and I'd love to be able to, if I had my own dev team, I would have all kinds of time in the world to be able to put in cool things like that. But like we're always fighting and strapped for resources around here because there's so many cool things happening. Long story short, yes, but not right now, possibly.
Could we get a bigger queue and some filters in the guild join request tab, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a good feedback item.
Has Splinterlands ever been approached by companies interested in its acquisition? Yes, we fielded 2 separate attempts by other companies to go purchase us. Both times we told them no. I mean, we went through a process and we got to the end of the process and said no. What's your opinion on the scholarship model? Do you think it would make sense to create a guild delegation dashboard where you could see all the cards that members collected, and then guild members could ask to be delegated certain cards they would choose or even bid on them?
So I'm not sure. So I just wanted to talk overall about the scholarship modeling and the guilds, the gaming guilds that are coming in. To me, that's one of the best ways we can grow this ecosystem. And again, it creates that similar virtuous cycle flywheel effect, right? If a guild can come in and raise money and buy $1 million worth of Splinterlands assets, and that is a doable, profitable business for them, then that will encourage either them to raise more money to do it more, or other guilds to come in and put in more money, which increases the value of the assets, which increases the earnings, which makes it, even a better proposition for guilds to come in and do that, and so on and so forth. So, yet another project that we are working on is I am actively talking to a number of the guilds that have more recently come into Splinterlands and just literally saying to them, what do you need to make this work for you? What tools do you need? Peak Monsters recently put in bulk pack opening and bulk combining options, specifically for guilds that have 250,000 packs to open and cards to combine. And we're going to have a lot more features. I don't know if it's exactly as the delegation thing described here, but one of the things I see is, guilds right now make a lot of accounts and they give those, they let scholars play on those accounts, but it's not the scholars' own personal accounts. So I think it would be, and that they have to do that in order to manage the rewards. They don't give the scholars the active keys, for example. But I think it would be great if scholars could bring their own accounts and just, as part of the core system, set it up, they can approve a certain portion of their rewards to be sent to the guilds, that they agree on, that they can take back at any time, so that scholars can come in and use their own account, level up, and get assets in their own account while being scholars of these guilds. And even it would make it easier for them to potentially switch guilds if there was another guild offering better options and opportunities. So overall, I think the guilds and the scholarships are one of the best ways we can grow this and quickly. And we're just working on all the tools necessary to make that easier and more profitable for them.
And we have a VP of sales that's working on figuring out the best process to onboard guilds in. So hopefully this combination of going after guild and then giving them the most and best tools that we can will make that, like Matt said, where people look at this and think, I am going to operate a Splinterlands business within the Splinterlands ecosystem of running a guild, and have that be a profitable experience and one that they feel like it is good to keep, adding resources to. All right, last question from the pre-sorted list. Would it be possible to have an animation that equips the skins after all monsters are picked and items are chosen?
Well, I mean, anything's possible. I think that's probably a question asked after the last town hall where we talked about skins. I think as mentioned previously, once land's introduced and crafting happens, and we have that stage 2 to battle where you choosing your items and your spells. And I think that's the questions in response to that discussion is okay, how do we properly introduce skins? I think if we do it properly per what we mentioned last time, then that'll be unnecessary to, especially because you have some weird equipment animations. What if you're changing the tattoos? You're gonna get rid of the old tattoos, put on some new tattoos, or you got some weird things that you might need to equip that might not seem natural. But I'm not opposed to it. I think that as we get closer to implementation and figuring out how that's all going to work, then that's definitely a possibility for sure.
All right. So rather than dive into user questions, which is what I normally try to do, I think we're going to have to wrap up. I have some family stuff that I got to go do, so I can't go the full 3 hours, and we ran a little bit late, but I think people are happy because we could go get Matt putting in. And I'll make a this actually, I saw this question for Unit QM. I'm thinking about getting enough gold foil to push my collection into a competitive space for a wealthy gambit gold foil. What kind of assurances are there that the power requirements won't jump up the day after I drop another 20 to 40,000? Are there WeirdBeard, do you have any plans of increasing wealthy gambit gold foil collection power requirements?
Increasing the
Yes.
collection power? I don't think so. Like, it's already buku bucks to be able to get into like gold foil and wealthy gambit stuff. Like, my entire mantra is make tournaments more accessible for more people. And I mean, 30 people enter those right now. Why would I want to make it 20? I want to see 100 people getting into those tournaments, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Did we pause brawlers? Oh, I know what I'm thinking brawls, not brawlers. Yeah, I don't know. WeirdBeard and I can talk about that. There is some budget to go do brawlers. I guess we were kind of waiting to make sure that we could host this sort of synchronous tournaments again. We should probably start with a smaller one and see if it works.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we had our one over this past weekend that, it was a synchronous tournament where it wasn't like a sit and go or an anytime type one. So I would love to get into more tournaments that are like live in real time. So we have to dig into that.
All right. So I'm sorry to push the questions off for until next time, but Matt, you kind of walked us through a lot of things. Is there anything in particular at the end of this that you kind of want to? Did we miss anything that you want to share or anything that you want to talk about?
I don't know. We probably missed some things, but we talked about so many things. That's the thing right now with so many people and so many teams working on so many different things. I don't even remember all the stuff that's happening all the time anymore. But I would say I think we covered a lot here.
Okay. Yeah, Matt being the conservative one is sort of through the moon on his own personal journey, and we've had people ask us, "Hey, everything is bad, right? This is terrible. Look at the prices. Everything is failing." And Matt and I are just like, "Zoom out. It'll be okay." Like I understand that nervousness or fear, especially if you're holding lots of cash in the game, but I spend my thought. I give it zero shelf space in my brain of just like I'm so happy with this team. I'm so excited for the passionate people that are here, and really just think that we have some amazing developments that are in progress. And honestly, we're going to have things as soon as like April starting to hit. So it took a little bit of time to go get the teams reorganized, but now I think we're seeing faster development than ever and more groups than ever. So between those two things, I think it's pretty awesome. So Nate, anything that you feel like adding?
No, I think, I had some of the creative team send me some stuff that would be juicy to share, but I might hold on to it for next time.
Share it. Damn it.
What? You said we're ending early.
I did. Go share one. Give me one cool thing. A little bit of eye candy.
All right. I noticed that some people have been asking in the town hall about checking out what's the next legendary summer to be released, and we do have some concept art for it. So this is Grandmaster Wraith, courtesy of Moriarty 95, who was one of the top pack purchasers,
and he's right here to see it. This is awesome.
So no, this guy's pretty freaking cool.
Wow, that's badass.
So, we might make one more pass at it. We usually do right before it goes into the card frame. but that's getting a lot closer to where we're going to end up with that guy.
I dig it. That's great. All right, WeirdBeard, anything that you want to share before we kind of dip out here?
Not yet. We have plenty of things that are in development, but I only like talking about it when it's ready. So.
All right. Well, guys, it's a pleasure to have Matt come on and kind of give you the monthly update from like deep within the trenches. Thanks for getting a little coming up for air and kind of sharing with us all the things that are going on. It can be easy to get distracted and just look at like a momentary price or what markets are doing, and but they don't necessarily know all the development that's happening and all the tools and all the things that we're building. And
Even
so,
if we tell them about all of it.
yeah. I mean, my experience has been until everything is out there, people won't actually respond or deal with it. But hopefully this is enough to sort of like titillate your brain and make you think about all the stuff that we have going, and make thoughtful decisions about your actions and your plans based off of this. And I'm grateful to be a part of this community. I'm honored that I have a position where I can help influence it, and I'm thankful to the guys that are spending night and day helping to build this company, build these teams, and build these products. I just think that we're in a golden spot, and I'm grateful daily, and I'm thankful to this community. So with that, I'm gonna call it a day. Thanks everybody. And I will do a better job of getting to more of the last minute questions the next time we're here. All right. Thanks, everyone.